gentlemen, it is the 99th episode of the Going Over podcast. And it is I, your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 44-year-old professional wrestler. Sometimes you might as well just call me a fucking babysitter, Zack. Prime time. Reeb, and I'm joined alongside, as always, my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, late night Sunday. I just woke up. Let me get that slobber off my mouth from a nice nap.
What's up, man? I'm just we're just getting done with the birthday party. We should have done this early in the morning because I was off on Sunday. We should have went with the standard 6 a.m. So many people's birthday. I have 2 November birthdays for my daughters. There was a November birthday for a maybe nephew. November birthday for a sister-in-law. Lots of and then a brother-in-law's son. So lots of birthdays all at once. Just gathered at the house here and just got it done, man. Knock them all out at once. 6 birds, 1 stone, as they say.
Man, that's a lot of pounding in February, right? Is that pounding in December or pounding in February? 9 months later,
that's it.
The stork flies over Mr. Isadora's house and drops off another little bundle of joy.
That's it, man.
In a very religious fashion, right?
That's it, man. You gotta get it done. That's it, man. Bundle of joy in this straight out of the stork's mouth.
It's a girl.
That's it. It's always a girl.
Paul's waiting the second time. It's a girl.
That's it, man. 5 in a row. Waiting, catching the girl.
A lot of pink. A lot of
daddy's little girls. So
yeah,
great stuff, man. So you had training today. So you had sounds like you had somebody make the return. And you know what? We're always talking about taking constructive criticism, right? So obviously we know it's we want the feedback. We don't always necessarily think it's going to be great. It's not going to be somebody kissing your ass telling you you're doing a great job. But so today I've decided I'm not eating on the podcast, right? Because I don't want to be smacking the lips. I don't want to be creating the distraction, right?
There it is.
I
threw mine out there. The old coffee burp coming out my mouth. Black coffee.
That's it.
No creamer tonight. For the big
geez.
Man.
Good
Yeah,
stuff,
Angel Escobar came back 7 months after shoulder surgery today, and great to have him back, man. The guy's always he's a smart ass, and he's a very positive piece of the puzzle in the company. And today I believe he referred to it as, have you ever gone a long time without having sex and you finally just break the hump and get some action? He said that's what it felt like today. And, it's like with Jesse Garcia, too. Garcia was there. It's crazy that these 2 guys will be coming back shortly within the company. Two guys that are two of my better guys. Really, 2 of my better guys that we haven't seen much of one in a while, and the other one has been hidden away by tag teams. We always joke because Angel's been in 3 different tag teams. One with the kid named Devontae as the 2 buds, and then it was Gerardo as the new buds, and then he teamed with Cordero. And every time he teams with somebody, they end up leaving or quitting. And we were almost we were almost ready to make like a murder angle with Escobar, where like he kills his partners after they don't win the tag team championships, and then he becomes a murder suspect. But it was like I said with Jesse today, and I said with Angel when he came back in, it's like, so you would think that these injuries happen to the performers, the athletes, and you would think you go, okay, the surgery, rehab, the doctor says you're cleared, you're good to go, and we're always precautious when we come back. We're very precautious. We're like, I don't want to get hurt. But I mean, we're now back. We've gone through the surgery and fixed the problem, took the time off, rehab. The doctor has cleared us. So I would say we're stronger than we were before, right?
Well, in theory, I mean, I remember when I tore my ACL. Well, first of all, I always screw around with Wolfgang Danger about this. I had a torn ACL, and I knew something was wrong that could happen at a wrestling show. I slipped on water. Right, I was catching a dive. I slipped on water. I felt something. Right, I didn't know what it was, but like wrestlers do. Right, you tape it up and you go on to the next town. Right, so we went from. I feel like we were in Antioch. I feel like it was at Brawl where it happened, and then we drove. We just jumped straight in the van and we drove to Portland, Oregon. And I don't remember if it was a Portland wrestling taping, but yeah, man, we got right on the road and 8-10 hours in the car. Got up there, wrestled, same thing. 8-10 hours in the car on the way back. I went to the doctor the next day and I say, hey man, I think I messed up my knee. And they did all these tests and said, oh no, it looks like it's too structurally sound for something to be wrong. So I went about my business for right around a year. And then I went back to the doctor and I said, man, I don't know what's going on. It's just, I feel like a lot of clicking and popping. So they go, well, they did all these tests and say, it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong, but what we'll do is we'll go in there and we'll scope it, right? We'll take a look at it with the camera. If there's any scar tissue, we'll clean it up. If there is a serious issue, then we'll fix it. So they go in there and they show me the video afterwards. There is no ACL at all in that knee. And I had been working out and, doing my thing for a whole year. So I always goof around with Wolfgang about that because he tore his ACL in a wrestling match. And so I always go, yeah, well, I just kept on working out and wrestling and stuff for a whole year. And you're just going to, take the pussy way out and go get it fixed immediately. But getting back to the point is, they do say that. They say after you rehab, in theory, this in my case, the knee is going to be stronger than it was before. But you're always cautious. You're always like, you went to this rehab, you're nervous about doing that, jumping off that foot or whatever, planning and cutting or whatever it is. So you're always a little bit cautious. But I should have known, like from my rehab, they put you on a stationary bike and they go, don't be discouraged if you can't go a whole revolution. Most people, you're working on just getting your movement back, and there's some scar tissue built up in there. So we're gonna have to work on breaking up the scar tissue a little bit from the actual injury and surgery. So don't be discouraged if you can't go all the way around on one revolution on the bike. And I jump on the bike and I'm just riding like normal. And it's like, okay, well, guess we don't need to worry about that. So that should have been a good indicator, like that I healed well, or that I was in good shape before the injury happened. So I should have probably not worried about it as much, but it's always a mental thing. You always go through it and it's like, you don't want to re-injure it or things like that. And, I had the same thing. I ruptured my Achilles tendon and it was the same exact thing. That was like, I think I couldn't put any weight on it for like 16 weeks or something along those lines before you even started doing rehab. So that one was even worse. Like you're not putting any weight on this leg for a long period of time. And then you're just like what happens, and you think something's going to happen. You think, oh, I'm going to take a misstep and I'm going to tear it again or something along those lines. But, in theory, it's supposed to be stronger than it was before you got the surgery. So hopefully, he's, jumps right back in there and gets right back after it.
Well, I always feel that when an injury happens, we put most of our maintenance, most of the majority of our maintenance and weight on the opposite limb or whatever it is. And that actually gets that limb that hurts weaker because we're taking a lot of pressure off it. So I've always been the guy, man, if something hurts, man, I just get out there and rub some dirt on it and walk it off. That's what they say. Rub some fucking dirt on it, man. But good to have those guys back. Yeah, I feel like you're going to be stronger when you come back from these injuries, and there is always that mental like, oh man, I don't want this to happen again. But I like to say, rub some dirt on it. Don't be a fucking puss. Let's get back to action. One thing I wanted to talk about, and a lot of injuries, man. Are the injuries real, man? I get a lot of over the years of booking, I get a lot of guys calling me, telling me, hey man, I'm injured, I can't make the show. And then I see them the next night or the next weekend and they're making another show. And I always look at that and I go, man, are these people reliable in what I'm trying to do with my company as I try to make it? And are you there? That's why we talk about using our own guys. But everyone's got their own an agenda is what we're always talking about. Does somebody have a fucking agenda? And one thing I wanted to talk to you about today is I wanted to ask you, because I see a lot of people posting, man. And the cool part about this, here we are 99 in. Last episode, Paul, last episode in double digits. We're moving to triples, man. And then it's going to be a long ride till we move to quadruples. But when we hit that 1000th episode, boner achieved, semen unlocked. Now, what I want to talk about is I see so many people posting online, whether they're tooting their own horn or, today I saw somebody that I definitely don't think has ever had a 2-star match, let alone a 5-star match. So I just wanted to talk to you. What are the requirements? What are the requirements for these stars, man? And I wanted to just one thing. I'm gonna let's figure this out. What makes a 5-star match in professional wrestling? And I'm gonna throw 3 things out there real quick, and then we'll see if you agree, and we'll pluck out the next couple out. I'm gonna say a great heel, a great baby face, and a great referee. So I'm going to say that in the elements of a 5-star match, the first thing I'm going to say, and it might sound stupid, is you got a great heel, you got a great baby, and you got a great referee. So there's my first 3 I'm throwing out there that I think lead to a honestly, I think if you got those 3, you're going to have a fucking 3-star match right away,
Right, absolutely. And I think that those are definitely the elements that you need to start with for sure. And I think it's just going to build off of those things. If you have a really great heel, you're probably going to be able to tell a good story. Like that's always the thing, man. I'm always, when I see a match, the first question that I want to ask someone is, what was the story that you were trying to tell, right? We talk about storyline all the time, and you get comments about is the storyline something that people can follow along with? Do people care about it? Are they invested? Things like that. So I guess as the promoter, you always kind of think like that people understand the direction that you're going, what story you're trying to tell, but realistically, that comes down to the things that you're talking about. You got to have a good baby face and a good heel. You got to have conflict. We talked about that before. If you don't have a conflict, it's difficult to tell a story. Because otherwise, now you hear about this with a lot of different other promotions, right? You have either you have long-term storytelling, short-term storytelling, or you have the dream matches where people just go, oh, well, these are two guys that I've never seen wrestle each other before. I think it'd be cool to see them in the ring together to see what happens, right? Does that lead to a 5-star match? And I think probably not necessarily, right? You could have two fantastic workers, but if you don't have some sort of story, some sort of conflict, it's going to be difficult for the fans to kind of get behind it, right? Because they don't know, like, why does the heel want to win so bad? Why does the babyface want to, why should I cheer for the babyface? What exactly is going on? But so I mean, I think that those, adding in the story, the conflict, things like that, I think that there's something to be said about that, because then it's something that the fans can sink their teeth into. And good.
Oh no! I'm getting ready because you said
yeah.
I wasn't trying to cut you off, but you said it. So it was, the heel, the baby, a good referee, obviously. Fuck the manager, fuck tag team. But you said the next thing in this, and that's what I'm trying to get at is, so you said it, and you're talking to continue to talk about it, but I set the setting for you on what it would take to get there, and you said, and we always talk about it after establishing and developing a conflict. Why do we want to see these guys fight, right? So that's
absolutely, yeah. So just so because you think about if a 5-star match doesn't have any crowd participation, is it really that good, right? Like, I feel like that's a huge part of it, right? That's going to be a big part of the story, or part of the reason that it's such a good match is because you have the crowd invested, you have them involved, right? They give a shit about what's going on. So I think that that's a huge thing as well. You got to have that conflict, and you have to be able to connect with those fans, right? And so I think it all ties into having a good babyface, having a good heel, having a good ref that can, we talk about Sparky Ballard so often about what he brings to the table, right? Because he understands things, from the booker aspect, he understands it from storytelling aspect. So, he's also listening to the crowd to go, hey, slow down, right? Slow down, let them take it in, right? Or, up the intensity, right? Put a little bit more heat on the dude, get a little bit more angry, right? You think about, the storytelling throughout a match, right? And a lot of times people talk about how when you're a heel, you're getting frustrated with the babyface maybe out wrestling you or making you look bad. But at some point, you're starting to get frustrated because you can't beat this guy, right? I'm kicking the shit out of him, but he won't stay down. I can't beat him. So then you take that intensity meter and you just crank it up, man. You get a little bit more intense. You get a little bit more vicious, things like that. So, and that all leads into that story and getting the fans involved, right? So the fans are excited about what's going on. Go ahead.
There you go. So you have a good heel, a good baby, a good referee. We've created a conflict between these two people, right? Now, is it a 5-star match if we have all these elements, but we do not talk them into the building? We do not tell the story. We have to have a story to tell these people, because if we do not have a story to tell them, then we cannot sell this match. If we cannot sell this match, we cannot fill up the venue. So there's so many elements already that go into this. I mean, you gotta have the good heel, you gotta have the good baby, you gotta have the ref, you gotta have this conflict, you gotta sell the audience into the building to watch this. If it's going to be a story, if it's a program over a allotted amount of time, whether it's 6 months, 2 years, whatever it is the 5-star match the first match? Is it the second match? Or is the 5-star match the match where all the audience has finally come in to see where this thing goes. And I bring this up because I don't think people really understand what, we hear it's a 5-star frog splash from Rob Van Dam. You goddamn right it was. That was a hell of a frog splash, no doubt about it. Maybe second to none. I seen that. God, I always forget his name. Montez Ford, man, that motherfucker, man, he throws himself one hell of a frog splash. But I mean, they couldn't figure out what to do with him. I'm just so tired of Dave Meltzer's 5-star reviews and what it takes to get a 5. Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit couldn't get 5 stars, but fucking Mercedes Monet and some Japanese girl that doesn't even speak English got 6 stars from Meltzer while he was beating his old pud in the bathroom. Oh, it's a 5-star. Tony's gonna love me for this. And you said it, man. Can a match? I saw an Adam Thornstowe Cobb match one time at SPW, and I thought it was a great match for what it was in the ring. Fuck, bravo. But I don't know. I didn't know the story going in. I don't know what the fuck was happening to it. So, it's something we just say, right? That's a 5-star classic. And when you christen it a 5-star classic yourself, I mean, maybe we need some therapy, maybe something. I had an incident in class today where I was trying to, and I don't even want to mention the guy's name because I don't want to take any of the clout that I've given him, but I was trying to explain to him today, like, man, you work the crowd great, but you're shit in the ring. You know what I mean? Like your work in the ring is shit. You bump bad. You're very stuck in your own ways. And I was trying to show him something, and it really pissed me off today because I'm like, okay, so if you go out here and you elicit a riot with this crowd, right? So you piss them off. The fans want to see the baby come out and beat you. But if you are bumping like shit and taking their moves like shit, and you and I got you in an arm wringer. Yeah. Oh, he got me back. And you're not putting over the baby face on the shine, and you're not doing these things. So your opponent's making you look good in the ring, but you're not making your opponent look good. So when I brought this up and I was real adamant about this, and it happens with a lot of people too, like they'll just kind of roll out of the ring or go sit off in a corner. A grown man will sit off in a corner and throw what seems to be a little pouty fit or something. And in those instances, I don't like to bring people's names up when we talk about that, because if you say something good about somebody or a decent little critique, then everyone like, yeah, put me over. I want to hear it. But then when you say something real about somebody that's not like super positive, everybody gets fucking pissed off about it. But can you have a 5-star match with somebody who's out there bumping like shit for you, even if they're over as a heel? They could be a good heel, right? But if you hook them up for that choke slam and they only go up mid schoolboy and don't take a high schoolboy for you, then you don't, even if the fans were happy that you beat him, he didn't take your move well. What is it, a 5-star, man? Like, what's your thoughts, man, on sandbagging pieces of shit when you go to choke slam them? That's kind of your deal, right? Is lifting a guy up.
Well, and I think just getting sandbagged in general sucks, right? Because in theory, we're supposed to be working together on this, right? We're supposed to be, just like you said, I'm supposed to make your stuff look good, and you're supposed to make my stuff look good, right? You're supposed to help me tell a great story, and I'm supposed to help you tell a great story. We talk about a good heel, and we use the term, selling your ass, right? Make yourself look foolish. Allow yourself to look foolish. We talk about the responsibility of being a good heel and calling the match, but also the the responsibility of a good heel of allowing yourself to look foolish, right? Come into the ring, you trip on the rope on your way in, you face plant, right? You go to celebrate or pop the crowd and your foot slips off the rope and you take a little digger there. And all of those things are great. Those are great reasons that you like to be a heel, because you don't have to do everything crisp and clean. But when it comes to taking bumps for somebody, that's probably the exception. That's where you need to look really good. You really need to take good clean bumps and crisp bumps and things like that. So, it always, it always takes away from a match if you see somebody sandbag another dude, right? It's like, if you don't want to take the move, just say that, right? Hey, I'm not comfortable with taking that, or whatever it is. Hopefully it's like, hopefully the reason is I don't trust you. Hopefully that's the furthest thing from it. Hopefully it's like, man, I don't take that bump well, or whatever it is. But you think about, like, I always heard about people, when a guy is a good bump and feed guy, right? When a guy gets up, takes a bump, gets up quickly and feeds into the next thing. Those are the guys that you like to work with, right? You want a guy that's going to come in and take those bumps, or especially like me, like I love the where a guy is taking bumps and they're snapping through and they're getting a good feed, and I don't have to even move. The guy just comes right back to me and boom, takes the next bump, right? It sucks, and I remember you talking about this a lot, where you have to pick someone up, or you have to put someone in the right spot, or things like that. And I think that's a huge thing as well, right? When the babyface catches fire, or is getting some offense, like quick, fast-paced stuff, if you're not a guy that can quickly bump and feed for that guy, you're taking away from that story. The fans are not gonna come up as high if it's boom, the guy takes a bump and slowly feeds up, right? The crowd's not going to get as excited about that as they are a guy quickly taking several bumps in a row. How many times have we talked about, clothesline hip toss and the guy's feeding in for a body slam and then powders out, right? Because hey, I can take those first two, but if I take this third one, man, it might be curtains for me. I might be on my way out, so I'm gonna leave the ring, right? But that's kind of what we're looking for in those hot type of the comebacks or hot tag or whatever. When I'm starting to catch fire as a babyface, that's what I need my heel to do. I need them to come through and make me look good and up the pace a little bit so the fans can get excited, even if it's a cutoff afterwards or something along those lines, right? We're trying to elevate those fans and get them on that roller coaster. And I think that's a huge part of the, if you want to say I got a 5-star match, how much did you get these fans invested in potential near falls and things like that, right? That they think their baby face, oh, I think you almost got him. Oh, he kicked out, right? Like you get the fans where they're excited. And that's something I think that's going to be a huge factor when you tell someone that they had a 5-star match, right? You talk about a 5-star frog splash being, the best one, right? I'm going to call something a 5-star because it's the best possible thing. Like, you're not going to see another one of those. Definitely not on the card, but maybe you don't see another one of those from another person ever or rarely, right? Somebody's got the top tier of something, right? So those 5-star matches, they got to be top tier in all these different categories, right? You got to have a good babyface, a good heel, a good ref, a good story. The fans have to be into it. You have to you have to check all these boxes in order for you to say, yeah, that was a stellar match, right? 5 stars. So,
well, I mean, everyone's always asking that question. They're like, oh, does this matter? Does that matter? Yeah, it all matters. It all matters in the long scheme of everything. I have a lot of guys come in and through my program, and you can ask Oliver John, you can ask Damian Slater, you can ask Brutal Bob Evans, you can ask Rudy Boy Gonzalez, you can ask Yeah, me, you can ask anybody who fucking, whether you believe them or not, it starts with that footwork, man. That bump and feed, the basics of anything. And that's it. The basics of anything, man. There's a reason that we learn to professional wrestle. There's a reason that there's a structure to it. There's a reason you teach these guys certain things and get them ready for certain things. But we get caught so often in everybody doing the same, and they refer to it like cookie cutter. You know what I mean? Oh, it's all we cookie cutter. It's the same as sex. You ask people nowadays. Are you into vanilla sex? And I guess that's because it's a basic flavor. And I'm like, nah, I'm a fucking Neapolitan over here. You know what I mean? But as we get older in the business, like I said before, so we spend, like, let's just look at the recovery program, right? I, my business, my job, my family, all these things were on the line, and I had to give up everything to focus on this. And then all of a sudden, now my job is back and boom, better than ever and booming. My business is booming. The family's booming. Now I'm busy. So now I'm so busy that I'm like, oh, I don't have time to work on the program anymore. But it was the program that gave you all this back and more. So if you ignore that program, you're going to be right back to drinking alcohol again, right? You're not going to be strong. And I look at the steps and the traditions. I look at them so much that I've implemented them not just in my daily life, but I've implemented them in my friendships, my family, my business, my structure, and my training, man. It's like, if you think you could be the best heel in the world, right? But if you think that you're going to show up once a week and just half-ass roll around a ring, and you think that you're going to be good inside those ropes, it's not the case. And maybe you're good, maybe you got a great character, maybe this and that, but you don't have to be Benoit, man. You don't have to be that technical, but you do have to accommodate what I'm doing out here. Sell for me. I say it so many times. I don't even critique the matches anymore, honestly. When I watch them somewhere else or someone's match, I just go, the guy's not selling down for the heel. He hit the corner. He's not sitting on the bottom turnbuckle. He's still standing. I hit him with I gave him an arm wringer, and he didn't go down to a knee or fucking really sell at his shoulder. What do I care? What do I care? What does the fucking corner matter if you're not getting the corner over? And that's where we're falling into this opening contest thing where people are like, oh, I'm going to dive out. I'm going to dive out in the opening contest. And it's like, why? I mean, if maybe tease a dive out and get stopped, or the guy slides back in the ring and like, oh, we thought we were going to saw a dive out in the first match, but there's no creativity when it comes to these things, man. And we're definitely overcomplicating this shit, right? We can agree. Can we agree on that this is just a very big overcomplication of people trying to think about shit when they're out there, you know?
Well, yeah. There's no doubt we are definitely overcomplicating things because we're caught up in the moves matter mentality, right? And you have to get back to the basics where you have to say the story is the main thing that the fans are there looking at, watching, right? Yeah, it's exciting to see some moves here and there, and but when it becomes an entire show of flippy floppy moves and high risk stuff, where now it looks like the whole show is nothing but moves, then it doesn't have as much. It's not as interesting, right? Because you're not telling those stories. All you're doing is trying to get the fans to react for individual moves, not the story that you're telling, right? the heel is beating up the baby face, and the fans want the baby face to come back and fight back and gain the advantage, right? You're kind of going away from that completely when we should be really focusing on it, right? And you talk about the opening contest. We're looking to set the stage for the rest of the show, man. Feel out the crowd, see what it takes. Are they going to react to an arm wringer and the guy selling the shit out of it? What are they reacting to? What is it going to take to get the crowd to react a little bit? So, we talk about the opening contest a lot, not just from the aspect of what the match should look like, but this is our information gathering match, right? Somebody's going to hopefully come back through the curtain and say, hey, that crowd's easy, right? They're going to react to everything, right? Those are, the match that I enjoy the most is working in front of the crowd where you can work up to a body slam or something, right? Like you work up to a basic simplistic move, right? If I'm working heel and I'm beating up the baby face and they get a couple things on me and they go for a body slam and I block it or I fall on them or whatever, where the fans go, oh man, if he would have just got him with that body slam. This goes back to the Ballards are popping into my head, right? When they were talking about working with the sheep herders or whatever, when the guy was telling them, if I hit you, if I hit you with that third body slam, the fans think he's not getting up, right? And it's like nowadays we look at it as such simplistic stuff where you're like, who gets beat by a body slam? But then you think about all the, some of the old title changes, where you have somebody beating another guy with a sloppy cross body off the top, right? But that's enough to beat him because you wore him down enough. And that last little, knock down of the energy meter, right? It doesn't allow you to kick out. So, you want to be able to tell those simplistic stories. And every once in a while you get that crowd that's into everything where you can go, okay, the culmination of our match is going to be, I finally body slam you, and that's where the crowd's going to go bananas. So
I saw a match this week. I think it's funny because as we're talking, Arsonist has asked the students a question in the group chat, and it's always like very good, like what's going on in this video? What's different? What's wrong in this video about the way we're and like I just keep seeing this shit pop up in the corner, and I'm just like, man, I love watching the progression of what we're doing. I saw a match this last weekend, saw a couple of them, and one of the matches had a guy, and he was, this is local, and he was very technical, man. I mean, he just fucking basically just butt fucked this guy's body, man. I mean, he had him down. He was arm bent back. I mean, he just had complete control of this pretty large man, stout guy's body, athletic guy. And, he was wrenching on that arm. It reminded me of like Finley or Regal. And then he like trapped him in like a body crucifix, and the guy kicked out, and it wasn't even a strong kick out. And then it separated them to start the match again. And I thought, man, I was so impressed with this dissection of this guy's body, just owning it. And he's controlling this guy, right? He's controlling this guy against his will. But the second he pinned him and the guy did a little kick out, he got away. It's like, man, you just owned every inch of this guy's body for the last minute and a half, and then you threw him in a crucifix body stack pin, and he kicked out, and then it was like, okay, now he's free. It's like, why? Well, how did you lose control of him? Because he kicked out. Like, you pinned him. Before that, he wasn't even pinned. You were just beating the shit out of his ribs. I'm like, you were just literally stretching this guy into existence. And on the same show, I saw, two young guys, and I was like, all right, let's watch these guys and let's see what goes on here. And I'm watching somebody that, the audience, especially NorCal is looking at going, man, this kid might be the next one coming up. And I see his collar and elbow tie up, and it's kind of right in there, but he's got his hand in a fist resting below the neck on the guy's back and I'm like, there's no collar, there's no grab here. And one thing that really makes me just go indie is when they always end up on the outside. We got to get our planche in, whatever, drop kick through the rope, whatever, right? But when their fire and their work with the crowd is just banging on the apron after doing a dive out, or I'm getting a little crazy here. Fucking hold on. Fucking there we go. Get that off the screen. Rattling. We fucking earthquake 8.2 right here in Northern California. But or my favorite, when they go outside and they have no personality. There's nothing to them, and they're just going. You know what I mean? That's the old, come on, Sacramento! That when they come out the curtain, or they do something on the outside and then they go. That's what you got? Raising the roof up? Bring it! Get up for me, guys. Pandering for the audience to fucking please beg for me. And it's, we could break this shit apart over and over, but I see what it all stems down to me is I just keep seeing people talk about 5-star matches, and it's star fucking ratings. And I remember John Cena saying, I do not give a shit if I ever get a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer. I don't care, because if that entire audience, if the building is full and that entire audience is buying my merchandise and they're happy, then I'm happy, right? The promoter's happy. Everybody's happy. And we've gotten in this era where everyone's just so concerned with, it was a 5-star match. It was the match of the night. And I always go back to it and I say, hey, if it's the match of the night, the promoter and the way it's booked will tell you, all right, tonight's your night, guys. Main event tonight, is it going to be the match of the night? No. I need the guys in the semi-main event who are wrestling for the number 1 contendership to face the champion. The champion's a heel. I need that to, you guys can do whatever. Let's get the heel over. But tonight, I need this babyface going up into the title shot against the heel coming off the night. I need him to look stronger than the heel who's in the main event defending the title. So tonight, semi-main, or maybe if you're match 4 before intermission or whatever the fuck slot you are, tonight the match of the night is going to change, and it's going to be the babyface that we're trying to build up so he looks stronger than the heel. There's going to be scenarios when the match of the night is, oh, for the smarky marky shit, shit crowd, the sea suckers out there. We got a fucking tables, ladders, and chairs match tonight. Well, yes, if you're on a card and you have a tables, ladders, and chairs match, I would definitely assume if you guys go out there and put it all on the line to that audience, maybe that's going to be the match of the night. You got Stone Cold and The Rock, WrestleMania in Houston. Then you got the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys in the TLC. Physically, that's going to be the match of the night, but those guys sold the building. Steamboat and Macho were the match of the night, but Steamboat and Macho weren't going to sell 93,000 tickets. That's going to go to Hogan and Andre. So what's that opener? That opening contest is the most important match of the night. Yes, it is. I got an argument with Marcus Mack one time. And he's like, that the first match should be the best match of the night. And I said, no, it shouldn't be the best match of the night. But I will agree with this. It is the most important match of the night.
Right. Well, I mean, that's kind of getting back to what I was just saying. Like, that's your kind of barometer. That's your opportunity to get the fans cranked up and and ready to go, excited about pro wrestling, and it's your opportunity to feel them out. Give the rest of the locker room the inside scoop, right? What is this crowd like? What are they going to react to? Things like that. But yeah, that's just we've talked about that recently, right? What type of match do you want to have first? Do you want to have two guys that maybe they don't look like pro wrestlers, or do you want to have two guys that are attention grabbers? So it's just there's strategy that goes into all these different things. We've talked about putting together a card and what do you need to do at different parts of the show, right? You're talking about stealing the show from different positions on the card based off of what type of story you're trying to tell. And as a promoter, you're going to tell the guys, hey, this is the match that I expect to be the best one of the night, right? This is the one that I expect to get the biggest reaction. So every match, plays its part. And you were talking about, drawing a house. I don't know, like I was thinking about when you have people that you're going to have on your show as a surprise, right? Maybe somebody that's returning that the fans haven't seen. You talked about having a couple guys that just came back to training and they're going to get back in the mix at some point. Is it a good strategy to have someone on your card that people don't expect to be there? Or do you look at that as a detriment? Does that well, damn, if you would have put this guy on your poster, you could have sold some more tickets. Like, what is your feel about that type of stuff? Obviously there's a lot of times where we see, surprise returns. You have, John Cena or Triple H or whatever coming back from injury, surprise return, right? And it gets a huge reaction from the crowd. But what's the balance between that and putting someone on a poster that is going to sell some tickets for you? What is, what's better? What's worse? Are they the same? What do we do about those type of situations?
Well, I mean, there's so many graphic guys out there. A lot of these posters look the same, right? Everyone makes match graphics. The match graphic to me is you're making a match graphic, not more content. You're making a match graphic for more content. Do your matches make sense, or are they just fucking matches you're throwing up? A lot of people do that to just sell a ticket. Nobody could give a shit about this guy or that guy. Most of the likes and the comments that local wrestling get online a lot of times, if it's not trolling and shit talking, because social media is just such a shit place to be, you know what I mean? Those people behind the comments, whether they, you know who it is because they're doing it and you know why they're doing it, but the people behind the comments that are trolling on there, sometimes I look at it and go, man, you're a grown adult. You know what I mean? Like, you are actually a grown adult who is wrestling locally. This is your scene, or whether it's not your scene, but nobody really gives a shit what your comment is. They're not big enough. Nothing's going viral. There's no thread unless it's like a group of fucking people. So, to just shimmy on back to what you're saying, it's your presentation of your company, man. If you got match graphics, it's a good individual way. I heard Dave Dutra talking one time where he was asking the promoter, like, hey, is there going to be individual match graphics? Because maybe Dutra wasn't on the poster. And it was a great point he made, is like, hey, I'm not on the poster. You're going to make me an individual match graphic because the show might be local or somewhere near where I live or where some of my friends and family are. And if I have a graphic that can show me that I can send them or post online, then they're more likely to come out and watch me local wrestle. Tag me on Instagram. One thing I used to do was I used to tag everybody on Facebook. And then now I've veered away from tagging everybody on Facebook. I'm tagging them on Instagram because on Facebook, a lot of people are their real name. And then the same person on Instagram is their worker, performer character name. So, and Instagram now is, for younger people. It's for the younger crowd, and Facebook's for like the 35 whatever and up. It's an older crowd, and you really have to know your crowd. TikTok, I don't know fucking anything about TikTok, but people go. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh man, how many views did you get on Facebook for this?" Oh, I got 100 to 300 views on Facebook and maybe max 20 likes. Not too many comments, not a lot of engagement. Instagram went up a little bit, but my Snapchat or my TikTok got fucking 300,000 views on this. Okay. And that's translating into the rest of your social media. So yeah, match graphics are just a thing. It was a thing that I started doing because I was like, I want to put this out here. But the match graphic can also get you in trouble because people can cancel the show, and then a lot of people don't have that. I got to change the match graphic, and I've had to do that a lot. And I've had to, I tell these guys when I make videos and graphics, and my guys have to work hard on it. If they cancel a booking, I say, man, I gotta change a lot of stuff now. I got to get my guys to change a lot of stuff. So, yeah, it's just easier to use your own people, but in the same sense, you have to also be creating and developing your own talent as well. Not just getting them in there and all right, here's how you do a couple things now. Now we got you on the show, so we got another wrestler that can sell some tickets. But John, is somebody over enough to make a return? Do you have the right amount of production to make vignettes and build up their return so it's a surprise? Or what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Does it matter if I put you on the flyer? It's better to put somebody on the flyer that a good looking girl or a guy that's got a good look or a good body, because if you're not drawing any big number to anything that really fucking matters, it doesn't really fucking matter what you put on the poster. You can put two, like our little thing where we got a guy holding up a belt. You can put a silhouette, like your shirt with, I believe, AJ Kirsch on it. You can put a fucking silhouette and say, pro wrestling here. Because I've seen a lot of great graphics. West Coast will make somebody a really cool flyer. But when I look at the flyer and who's on the card, I go, this thing ain't gonna sell. Who gives a shit?
Right. Definitely. I guess you gotta weigh those things, right? Who is gonna draw if you put them on your poster, and who do the fans want to see? And obviously it's always really nice when you have fans that are asking you specifically, hey, is this person going to be on the card? Because obviously that shows you've got some people that are interested, right? Is this person going to come? You would wish that it doesn't matter who's going to be on the card, right? You enjoy the product. You know that they're going to tell a good story. You know it's going to be an entertaining show. You're going to have fun, right? You're going to get your money's worth. So I guess it does, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, as they say. It could go either way. So I was just curious about what your thought about that was. As far as trying to draw people. Like, is it good to have somebody just pop up as a surprise? I know sometimes you have somebody in town. I mean, you've talked about that in the past. Like, you have somebody just pop up, at your show and go, hey, I'm just here to watch, but if you need me to do something, I'm more than willing. I got my stuff with me and things like that. Obviously, that's always nice. Wow. And that's kind of what we suggest too, right? If you don't have anything going on and there's a show that, you can go, a lot of time for me, it's go network, right? Go talk to some people, get your face out there, get in front of some people where they can go, oh shit, this guy's here again. This guy's helping with ring crew, or this guy's helping with something. This guy's giving advice or whatever. Somebody's there trying to help your product. Benefit in some way. That's always a good thing. And I feel like that's always been the past 20 plus years, that's always been the opportunity to get onto a show is if you're showing your face, right? People see you as valuable if you are showing up, right? Like, oh, this guy's here. Maybe we give him a shot, right? Somebody canceled, perfect. Well, this guy's going to be here, so we'll put him on the card. And next thing you know, you're worked in to the rotation, and now you're a part of this show, and it's just because you showed up, right? So I don't know. I think that those are great things that happen sometimes, and in other cases, you'd like to have somebody that, if you know they're going to be there, opportunity to put them on a flyer. Maybe they have a good look, unique look, something that's going to attract some fans. If they see a poster, they go, "Oh shit, what's this all about?"
You got 500. You got 500 seats. You got 500 tickets sold. Throw them on out there. Who gives a shit? You're already selling the ticket. You ain't going to get no more in the building with or without them, right? So it's a cool surprise if it's somebody like a name or somebody who's around. But if you're not drawing the audience, if you're not making money off of what you're doing, and you just go, I'm going to throw this guy out here as a surprise for 100-something fans, then that's very markish, because then you're not utilizing that guy to potentially fill your building up more. So just so many things, like AEW shit for so long. I remember one show, Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson at AEW and Adam Cole all made their debuts at the end of one match, and it was like for like a month or two straight, Tony Khan was why you watched AEW was, he was just sucking up guys from WWE and throwing them out at a cool moment. So it was like, this is me stealing your headlines by introducing these returns. And WWE is a different animal. Always has been, always will be, no matter what anybody says about it. Do I think the product sucks on WWE right now? 100%. 100%. But here's the thing. They're the WWE. They could easily change my mind tomorrow. They could have Monday Night Raw could change the entire complexion of the way and I could start watching it again. SmackDown could be good and I could go, wow. But the one thing that they're doing is developing, whether it's slow or not, whether it's the slow burn. That's my favorite. Everybody says Triple H is just out there slow burning them. Whatever. They're going to watch WrestleMania. Saudi Arabia has paid $250 million to have a 2-night WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. Who gives a shit? Would you turn that money down? No, you wouldn't. And people go, well, the cost of Nick Khan, the cost of this is way too expensive. They were packing out buildings. Wrestling goes through hot periods, man. It goes through hot periods. And, that's kind of like if it's that time of the month for a woman, it's not going to be a cold period. It's maybe it's not a super high. But it's going to be a warm period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, that goes back to selling shows versus, selling tickets, right? It's like, well, I've already got this guaranteed millions of dollars for WrestleMania, right? Doesn't matter if any tickets sell. No, it doesn't, right? Because that's the responsibility of the people that are paying you the money to bring you in.
The promoter.
Right. So, those
it's your job.
Right.
It's our job. When I was drinking, I used to be so passive aggressive about that. I was like, guys, come on, you got to share this stuff and sell tickets, you pieces of shit. And it's like, the student is paying me for the training. He's paying me for the opportunity to be on the show. Even if I don't have any place to send them, he's paying me to teach them. He's trusting me that I can get him some work somewhere or get him good enough that he'll be good enough to it. He's not paying me to be the promoter. That's not why he's paying me to teach him. And I'm going to pay you this money so that I can go sell 100 tickets for you and do your fucking job. Don't be lazy. It's your job.
Very true. Well, we got a few seconds here. We got Showdown at Boomtown coming up this coming Saturday, November 15th, 7 p.m. And with that being said, for Zach Reeb and Paul Isadora, we are going over.
Hit that subscribe button.